Welcome to tonight's bedtime story. As you settle in and close your eyes, take a deep breath and let the world fade away. Tonight, we'll journey to the mystical valley of golden petals, a place where only the purest hearts can enter and magic awaits those who are ready. Let the soothing rhythm of the tale guide you into a peaceful slumber. Relax, breathe deeply, and let the story carry you into a world of dreams. The Valley of Golden Petals was a legend, a whispered tale passed down through generations and hidden beneath layers of superstition and mystery. No map bore its name, no historian recorded its presence. And yet, it existed, or so the story said, in a realm untouched by mortal ambitions, nestled somewhere between reality and a place only the pure of heart could reach. They spoke of it in hushed tones in smoky taverns and dimly lit inns, as if fearing the valley itself might be listening. It was a place where thousands upon thousands of flowers, golden as the dawn, grew and bloomed with a beauty beyond description. Each petal, glimmering like fire, caught the light of the rising sun and shimmered as if made of precious metal. Yet, those who had seen it, if indeed they had seen it, claimed the valley's treasures were not meant to be picked or taken away. To do so would be to rob the valley of its soul, for it was a place that existed only to bless, never to be possessed. But the valley was more than golden petals. It was said that its blossoms bestowed gifts upon those who found their way there and were deemed worthy. Gifts woven from ancient wisdom, courage unknown, or a joy that would stay with them until their final breath. These gifts, however, were hidden behind a gate that few could pass through, the gate of one's own heart. Only those with an untarnished soul, a heart as clear as spring water, could cross the threshold. To the greedy, the corrupt, and the unworthy, the valley remained invisible, a mirage vanishing as they approached. The valley's guardian, a fairy who embodied the dawn itself, was rumored to be the one who judged each visitor's heart. She was a creature of light and shadow, older than the mountains surrounding the valley, and more fleeting than a whisper. Her name was unknown, her face seldom seen, yet her presence was felt within the valley at every sunrise. She was bound to the place, a spirit both gentle and fierce, and it was said that her gaze could pierce through to the very core of the soul, stripping away all illusion. Some claim to have heard tales of those who had returned from the valley changed, though few would speak of what they had seen, for the valley's enchantment was not meant for the curious or the careless. A wanderer might hear of it, their curiosity piqued by the allure of golden petals and a guardian fairy. But as with all powerful magic, the valley only granted its blessings to those who came with pure intentions. And so it remained a place of myth, fading in and out of memory as the years turned. Once, long ago, a young child asked an elder why the valley existed, why it allowed only those with pure hearts to enter. The elder, a sage with eyes clouded by age yet sharp with understanding, spoke in a voice soft as the evening breeze. The valley is a mirror of the soul. It is both beautiful and elusive, but it offers nothing to those who seek to possess it. The valley grants no riches, only truth. And truth, child, is something that cannot be bought or owned. It must be given freely as a flower blooms. So the legend grew, taking root in the imaginations of those who heard it, their minds painting images of golden fields untouched by time, guarded by a fairy with wings like the first light of dawn. The valley became a dream to many, a place of hope and purity, a sanctuary of light hidden within a world that often seemed far too dark. As the years passed, the tales of the Valley of Golden Petals drifted across the lands, drawing dreamers, seekers, and wanderers toward its whispered promise. But to most, it was a dream that lay forever just beyond reach, obscured by mist and memory, fading like the last glimmers of twilight. It was on the cusp of autumn when Elara first heard the tale of the Valley of Golden Petals. She was a wanderer by nature, a soul forever restless, drawn to the roads that wove through lands forgotten by most. Elara travelled light, with nothing but a threadbare satchel, a simple cloak, and an amulet that hung like a solitary star around her neck. She was used to listening to the stories that passed like whispers through the villages she visited. And yet, the story of the valley gripped her heart like no other, as if it had been waiting in the shadows of her thoughts, quietly calling her name. The tale came to her by chance, if there is ever such a thing as chance, on a night thick with the scent of pine smoke and the murmurs of travellers. She sat by a flickering fire in the corner of a small inn, lost in the shadow of the mountains, when an old storyteller began to weave his tale of the valley. His voice was low and rough, like leaves brushing against stone, and his words held a weight that seemed to shape the very air. "Far beyond the places you know," he murmured, his gaze unfocused, as if he was seeing something only he could, "lies a valley of golden flowers. Not of metal or gold itself, mind you, but flowers so golden they shine brighter than anything you've ever known. But it's not their glow that makes them special. No. The valley is magic, and it only reveals itself to those who come with hearts free from shadow." Elara felt herself leaning forward, her heart quickening, as though the valley's magic had already reached out to her, whispering her name in a language beyond words. The fire crackled, casting flickering shadows across the storyteller's face, making him look both ancient and eternal. "It's protected by a fairy," he continued, his voice dipping lower. "A creature bound to the valley, as much a part of it as the roots that dig into the earth and the petals that reach for the sun. She has no patience for those who seek the valley's beauty for selfish reasons. But for the worthy, she offers blessings no mortal can imagine. That night, as the inn lay quiet beneath the heavy blanket of night, Elara felt the call of the valley stir in her chest, like an ember glowing in the dark. There was a longing inside her, a feeling that had been nameless until now, a desire to find something real, something pure, in a world where even the brightest places seemed tainted with shadows. She knew with a certainty as fierce as it was quiet that the valley was meant for her. She did not know why, only that she had to follow this calling, this ancient pull in her heart. At dawn, she set out, the amulet around her neck glinting in the first rays of light, as if it too recognized the journey she had begun. She walked through the villages, across barren fields and dense forests, her eyes fixed on the horizon. Days turned into weeks, and each night, as she lay beneath the stars, she felt herself growing closer, as if the valley were a living thing that sensed her coming and waited with bated breath. She crossed rivers that wound through valleys forgotten by time, trekked through forests so thick with mist that even the trees seemed to whisper secrets. The path was never clear, never direct. It was as if the valley itself were testing her, leading her along hidden trails and over hills that appeared only under certain stars. And yet, the journey felt right. She felt each step bring her closer, not just to the valley, but to a truth buried deep within her own heart, a part of her spirit that had slumbered, waiting for this very moment. The villagers she passed warned her of the dangers, told her of the hopelessness of her quest. They said, shaking their heads at her determination, but Elara only smiled, for she could feel the valley's quiet call beneath her skin, a steady pull that no words could diminish. And so she walked on, guided by a force she could not see, an instinct that had no name. She learned to listen to the land, to feel the rhythms of the earth beneath her feet, trusting that it would show her the way. As she ventured deeper into the unknown, a sense of anticipation filled her heart, like the moment before the dawn breaks. She was on the edge of something grand and ancient, something older than the mountains, hidden and waiting just beyond the veil of sight. After many days, Elara began to sense a shift in the air, a subtle change in the light, as though the valley were finally revealing itself. Her heart quickened, for she knew she was close, closer than she had ever been to the valley of golden petals. And in the silence of the mountains, where only the wind spoke, she heard it. A faint hum, like a song half remembered, calling her forward into the heart of mystery. Elara stood at the threshold of the valley, her heart beating in quiet harmony with the world around her. Before her rose an ancient stone archway, half hidden by twisting vines and delicate white flowers, their pale glow soft in the dimming twilight. She reached out, fingers brushing against the cool stone, feeling an almost electric hum beneath her touch. This was it, the entryway into the Valley of Golden Petals. She could sense it, like a memory she had never lived, a place both strange and familiar, calling to her with an unspoken promise. She took a step forward, but the air thickened as if unseen hands were pushing back. Shadows gathered around her, coalescing from the very earth itself, each one carrying fragments of her past. Elara's eyes widened as the shapes took form, conjuring faces she hadn't seen in years, events she thought she had left behind. A shadow emerged, bearing the face of an old friend she had wronged in her youth, a choice she had tried to bury, yet had never forgotten. Then another appeared, her own mother's face, eyes filled with disappointment over the daughter who had chosen the road over family. One by one, the shadows wove themselves from her regrets, each memory sharper than the last, each mistake glaring in the dim light. They were fragments of herself she had long sought to escape. Moments of selfishness, of anger, of fear, small betrayals hidden deep in her heart. Elara felt the weight of her past pressing upon her, each memory a stone she carried unknowingly. She wanted to turn away, to leave behind the whispering shadows, to escape the burden of what they showed her. But something held her still. She knew this was a test, not of courage, not of strength, but of purity. The valley, ancient and wise, demanded honesty, a soul unburdened by falsehood. Taking a steadying breath, she let the memories rise, each one a wound she would no longer hide. She allowed herself to feel the guilt, the regret, the sorrow that had followed her silently for so many years. And then, in a voice as quiet as her own heartbeat, she whispered words of forgiveness, not for those who had wronged her, but for herself, for the mistakes she had made and the pain she had caused. With each memory, each wound laid bare, Elara felt lighter, as if the valley were absorbing her pain, washing it away like sand slipping through her fingers. The shadows softened, their edges blurring, and one by one they began to fade. In their place, the air grew brighter, filled with a warm light that seemed to emanate from within her own heart. It was as though the valley had reached into her soul, sweeping away the cobwebs of regret and leaving behind only what was true. When the last shadow had faded, she felt the valley's presence welcoming her, the resistance dissolving like mist in the morning sun. She stepped through the archway, her soul lighter, her heart open and unburdened. The world beyond the gate stretched out before her, a field of golden flowers glowing in the first light of dawn, their petals shimmering with an ethereal radiance. In that quiet moment, as she took her first steps into the valley, she understood the test's true nature. The valley was not simply a place of beauty or magic. It was a mirror, reflecting the depths of one's soul. Only those who could face their own darkness, who could forgive themselves for the mistakes buried deep within, were deemed worthy to walk among its golden petals. As she walked deeper into the valley, the flowers seemed to reach for her, their delicate golden faces turning as if to greet her. The ground beneath her feet felt warm and alive, thrumming with the same energy that pulsed within her. She felt as if she were walking through a dream, yet everything was achingly real. The air smelled sweet, with a scent that reminded her of sunlit mornings and forgotten joys, of memories she had never known but had always yearned for. The valley's magic wrapped around her, a presence that seemed to breathe with her, an energy that resonated with her heartbeat. She knew with a certainty that was both humbling and exhilarating that she had passed the valley's test. She had shown her true self, flaws and all, and in doing so had opened herself to the blessings the valley offered. In the distance, she glimpsed a soft, shimmering light, a figure graceful and radiant, watching her from within the golden sea of petals. The guardian fairy, Elara thought, feeling a shiver of awe and anticipation. She knew that this was only the beginning, that the valley held gifts far beyond her imagination. Gifts that would reveal themselves only to those who approached with hearts unburdened and true. With each step she took, she felt the valley's warmth seep into her very soul, filling her with a peace she had never known. The shadows of her past were gone, left at the valley's edge, leaving her free, as if reborn. And as she moved toward the figure in the distance, she felt ready to receive whatever the valley had in store for her. A gift she knew would change her forever. Elara moved through the valley as if in a trance. Her steps soft against the earth, each one carrying her closer to the heart of the golden expanse. All around her, flowers stretched toward the light, their golden petals shimmering like embers caught in the wind. She felt the warmth of the valley's magic embrace her, wrapping around her like a whispered lullaby, filling her heart with a tranquility she had never known. And there, standing amidst the blooms, was the guardian, the fairy of dawn. She seemed woven from the very essence of morning light, her form delicate yet powerful, shimmering with an iridescent glow that shifted with every breath of wind. Her wings arched like translucent veils, soft as moonlight, their edges catching the light of dawn in hues of rose and gold. She looked upon Elara with eyes as deep and mysterious as the sky itself, ancient and wise, as though she had seen countless dawns and witnessed secrets long forgotten. The fairy's gaze was steady, unblinking, yet gentle, holding within it the weight of ages and the kindness of something bound to the earth, but forever untouched by it. Elara felt that the fairy saw her, not merely as she was now, but as she had always been, and as she could become. A being of light and shadow, a soul with flaws, yet capable of grace. The valley was silent around them, a hush that seemed to honor the presence of this ancient guardian. Elara felt the impulse to kneel, not out of fear, but out of reverence for something so holy beyond her understanding. Something that had existed long before her life had begun and would continue long after it ended. The fairy raised a hand, graceful and slow, beckoning Elara forward with a gesture as soft as a breeze. The valley felt alive beneath her feet, every step drawing her closer to something she could not name but had always felt. A force that hummed at the edges of her dreams, calling her to awaken. When Elara stood before the guardian, the fairy extended a delicate hand, and in her palm lay a single golden petal, radiant and fragile. Elara looked at it, captivated by its beauty, and as she reached out, she felt the warmth of the valley pour into her fingers, traveling up her arm and filling her whole being. The petals seemed to glow brighter in her hand, as if responding to the rhythm of her heartbeat, connecting her to the valley in a way that words could not capture. The fairy spoke then, her voice a murmur that sounded like dawn itself, a sound woven from bird songs, the rustle of leaves and the gentle sigh of the earth welcoming the first light. This valley sees you, Elara, as you are and as you might yet become. You have journeyed far, not only across lands but within your own soul. For this, the valley grants you a gift. Elara's heart swelled with a mixture of awe and gratitude, and though she could not fully understand the fairy's words, she felt their truth reverberate through her. The petal in her hand grew warmer, pulsing with a rhythm that matched her own, and she sensed it was not merely a symbol, but a part of the valley itself, a piece of its magic, a token of the dawn. The fairy's gaze softened, her lips curving in a faint smile, and for a fleeting moment, Elara saw something more in her eyes, a sadness perhaps, or a longing, as though even this ethereal being carried a secret. But as quickly as it appeared, the look vanished, leaving only the calm, eternal presence of the guardian before her. The valley's gifts are boundless, the fairy continued, but they are not meant for the selfish or the proud. They are for those who seek not to possess, but to cherish, for those who find beauty in light and shadow alike. Elara nodded, understanding that this was no simple blessing. The petal in her hand felt heavy now, not with weight, but with significance. It was a reminder, a talisman, something that would anchor her to the purity of the valley and the lessons she had learned within it. She sensed that, with it, she could face whatever lay ahead. Her heart unclouded by doubt, her spirit unburdened by regret. The fairy raised her hand once more, her fingers trailing through the air, and the valley around them seemed to respond, the flowers bending as if bowing to a silent song. The light grew softer, the golden hues blending into the colors of the morning, and Elara felt herself becoming part of it all, a fragment of something vast and timeless. In that moment, the fairy's form began to shimmer, becoming more translucent, blending with the valley's light, as though she were returning to the dawn itself. Elara watched, holding the petal close to her heart, feeling a pang of sorrow as the guardian faded, her form dispersing like mist caught by the morning sun. Yet, as the fairy vanished, Elara felt no emptiness, for the valley had given her more than she could ever have asked for. She felt its magic settle within her, a quiet presence that would guide her in times of darkness, a reminder that she was never truly alone. The valley lay still around her, bathed in the gentle glow of dawn, the flowers swaying softly in the light. Elara closed her eyes, breathing in the scent of the golden petals, knowing that the guardian's blessing would stay with her, woven into the fabric of her spirit. And as she opened her eyes, the valley seemed to shine just a little brighter, as though it too acknowledged the journey they had shared. Elara lingered in the valley as the light of dawn grew brighter, its golden petals casting a warm glow that seemed to reach into her very soul. She felt the fairy's presence still, a quiet yet profound energy humming beneath her skin. In her hand, the single petal lay like a whisper of magic, a memory that she knew would never fade. She looked around, her heart swelling with the beauty that surrounded her, feeling a deep, resonant peace. She understood now that the valley was alive in ways she had not realized before. Every petal, every blade of grass, every soft breeze felt charged with purpose, as though the valley were a heart beating within the world itself. And she, for this one moment, was a part of its rhythm. Her spirit bound to the ancient magic that pulsed through it. She felt lighter, her mind clearer, as if the valley had unburdened her from all her doubts and fears, replacing them with a calm that was neither fleeting nor fragile. As she walked through the sea of golden blooms, she felt a stirring within, a memory not of her past, but of something beyond her own life, as though the valley's gift were a key to an older wisdom. She closed her eyes and let herself drift into this feeling, and in the silence, visions began to unfold behind her closed eyelids. She saw glimpses of lives lived long ago, lives bound to the valley's mystery. A shepherd who had found courage amidst despair, a poet who had been gifted words that would soothe the hearts of many, a healer who had found the strength to bear others' pain. These visions flickered like candlelight, each one carrying a sense of purpose, a fulfillment that seemed to flow from the valley's blessings. And in each vision, she felt echoes of the fairy's presence, watching over them, guiding them, her essence entwined with the valley's gifts. Elara sensed now that each soul who passed the valley's test became part of a lineage, a legacy of seekers and dreamers who had been touched by its magic. The petal in her hand was more than a token. It was a bridge to these other lives, a thread that connected her to something timeless and eternal. Slowly, she opened her eyes, her heart brimming with the understanding that the valley's gift was not merely a blessing for herself. It was a gift that she would carry forward, a light to be shared. The wisdom, the courage, the peace that had been bestowed upon her were not to be hoarded or kept in secret. She would return to the world, bringing with her the quiet strength she had found here, sharing the valley's blessings with those who needed them most. As if in response to this realization, the valley seemed to brighten, the golden petals swaying gently as though they were affirming her purpose. She felt the warmth of the sun on her face, the soft breeze brushing against her cheeks, and in that moment, she knew that the valley's magic would be with her always, a light within her that no darkness could extinguish. It was time to leave, yet the thought no longer filled her with sorrow. The valley would remain, a hidden world for those who sought it with pure hearts. She knew that its magic was bound to the dawn, to the first light that touched the earth each day, and that in a way she was bound to it as well. The valley would live in her, guiding her, whispering to her in moments of doubt, filling her with the strength to carry on. With one last look at the golden sea of flowers, she placed the petal against her heart, feeling its warmth seep into her skin. She whispered a quiet farewell, a promise to honor the valley's gift, to let it shape her journey, to be as open and as generous as the valley had been with her. And as she turned, she felt no sadness, only a profound gratitude that swelled in her chest like a song that had yet to be sung. As she passed back through the ancient stone archway, she felt the valley's magic settle within her, a gentle hum that would guide her steps, a light that would keep her path clear. The world beyond was waiting, a canvas untouched, and she was ready, with the valley's blessing pulsing in her veins, to face whatever lay ahead. And so, Elara walked away, her steps firm, her heart light, knowing that the valley of golden petals would always be with her, a hidden sanctuary she could return to in her soul, a gift, a memory, a truth that would never fade. She carried within her the dawn's first light, a promise of peace, and a strength as timeless as the golden flowers that bloomed only for the worthy. For though she left the valley behind, she would forever carry its essence with her. Like a petal caught in the wind, journeying into the world, bound by neither time nor place, a fragment of magic that would linger on, unseen yet everlasting.